One Hot Night in Nashville. A Welcome to Kissing Springs prequel. Joi Jackson, this novel is entirely a work of fiction. The names, characters, and incidents portrayed in it are the work of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events or localities is entirely coincidental. Chapter 1. Gia Mitchell sat in the plush conference room chair, trying desperately to find an outlet for the nervous energy coursing through her as she waited for her attorney, Abby Jocelyn, to lay out all of the documents that needed to be signed.
This is everything. First, sign here.
Abby, a tall, voluptuous brunette with flawless skin and short, manicured nails, pointed at the signature line on the legal document.
This is your loan disclosure statement.
Gia put a hand on her leg to still it as she quickly scanned the document. She signed with a flourish and slid the paper back. She wanted to race around the tastefully appointed conference room screaming she'd done it. She'd finally secured retail space for her new, cutting-edge lingerie company, Lush. And assuming everything went well with the closing, she'd have keys in hand by lunchtime.
Sign these as well.
Abby tapped another 2 documents.
So you use a 3D printer to create clothing? How does that work?
The woman asked as Gia signed her life away. Gia slid the papers back, clicking her pen nervously. Lingerie, actually. I have a few different basic patterns that I customize and design to fit a client's exact measurements. Then I feed all of the info into the machine, and it creates the pieces based on the data I enter.
Here's another. Initial here.
Abby indicated where Gia needed to sign.
Then sign at the bottom. That's interesting. And these pieces are durable? Or are they like a one-time deal? Like you show your special someone you're wearing them, then they're done.
Gia paused, signing the current document to chuckle. Oh no, they're fully functional garments. They're made out of a knit material that's very soft to the touch, yet molds to the female body perfectly. It looks like lace, but is much more durable. She hesitated, hoping her words wouldn't offend the attorney. I could do magic with all those curves you have. You should come by the shop and get a demo of the process. Abby looked up in surprise, her brows furrowed.
Really? I have the hardest time finding cute items that come in tall sizes. Maybe I'll do that, give the old man something to stare at besides my outstretched t-shirts.
She slid another set of documents over for Gia's signature.
When will you open officially?
Gia tapped the pen to her lips. I'm giving it 6 months, but hopefully it will be sooner. I'm planning a big, grand opening party. She reviewed the documents, then quickly signed them. I'll make sure you get an invitation.
Please do. Looking forward to it.
She stood, drumming her fingernails on the glossy wood of the desk, her eyes flitting between the stack of documents and the door.
I need to verify your funds have been wired over, then we can wrap this process up.
Abby started to walk away, but she paused and turned back to Gia.
Would you like some coffee or water?
Gia waved her off, declining. She knew that anything she drank would go straight through her. And there would be no time for trips to the restroom. She was desperate to get her keys so she could go check out her new building.
Okay then, make yourself comfortable. I'll be back shortly.
The lawyer stepped out of the room, closing the door behind her. Gia stood and stretched out her torso, feeling the tension of the day leave her shoulders. Only a few more minutes, and she'd become the proud owner of her first brick-and-mortar location. About an hour later, after she'd signed what felt like enough paperwork to own the whole state of Kentucky, Gia unlocked the door of her new building. The door stuck as she pushed the knob, and she had to use her shoulder to force her way in. The storefront smelled of sawdust and mildew. She knew from the seller's disclosure there was a burst pipe issue last winter that was never fully addressed. The pipes had been repaired, but the carpet hadn't been touched. She wrinkled her nose at the sour smell. She would ask her dad and brother to help her pull it up and dump it first thing. Bad carpet aside, Joi was ecstatic and did a little dance of joy. She couldn't believe she was standing in her own building. After months of red tape, delays, and price negotiations, she had finally secured the building for her startup custom lingerie line at a price with which she was comfortable. She ran her hands over the concrete wall, imagining all the possibilities that would soon be within reach. The space itself needed a lot of work. She knew. New flooring, new walls, some new electrical wiring, and HVAC work. But Joi welcomed the challenge with open arms. She couldn't wait to see what this building would become when she was through with it. She sought to make Lush an experience for brides as well as non-brides who wanted to feel sexy and confident. Joi wanted to foster creativity in the confines of her high-end lingerie shop, a safe space for clients to explore their wildest fashion fantasies without fear of judgment, and a place of encouragement for her team to balloon beyond their creative limits. Lush lingerie would be the go-to source for women who wanted a better undergarment shopping experience. Joi's vision for Lush started to take form as she walked around the space. She imagined a 3D printer humming in the corner, crafting intricate pieces of lingerie on demand. Consultations and measurements would be offered in a separate area. She wanted a place where her customers could enjoy coffee or champagne while they waited, and an area where brides could design a full lingerie trousseau if they wanted. Her phone rang as she was making notes on her tablet. "Hey, look where I am." Joi answered and turned the phone so she could show the store.
So I'm assuming you're a real estate mogul as well as a killer designer now?
Joi's best friend Erica asked. "Yep, if a small storefront on the main street in Kissing Springs, Kentucky counts as mogul territory, then yes, I am."
Congrats. What are you doing to celebrate?
Joi frowned at the phone. "Nothing. There's so much that needs to be done to get this place ready in time for the holiday season, it's not even funny. So I can't celebrate just yet."
Oh, come on, Joi. You've got to do something. Brilliant idea. Why don't you meet me in Nashville for the weekend? I've got a conference to attend there next week, and I'm going in early to check out some of the restaurants. We'll hang out like country music stars for a couple of days, then you can hit the ground running Monday morning. You have to come. I haven't seen you in ages.
Joi switched the camera back and made a face into the phone. "You're seeing me now. That's the beauty of technology." Erica rolled her eyes.
Smartass. You know what I mean. I haven't hugged my bestie in almost a year, and Nashville is what, only a couple hours drive from Kissing Springs? Go pack a bag and meet me.
The woman had a point. Joi sighed. But she had a million things to do and aggressive deadlines for all of them. She couldn't just drop everything and drive to Nashville.
Before you say anything, 'cause I see that big fat no written all over your face, answer me this. When's the last time you celebrated all you've accomplished? You've been grinding for a minute now. You can take one weekend off to see me.
"If I drive there, maybe I can convince you to move to Kissing Springs while we're together?" she asked slyly. Erica grimaced.
I get why you moved back. That's where you grew up. But going from Atlanta to small-town Kentucky, Joi, I don't know.
"Yes, it's a small town, but it's so different from when I was growing up. There are new businesses springing up here like crazy. They've revitalized the town square. As a caterer and chef, You could make a killing on the weddings alone. It's now the romance capital of the South. She was getting excited all over again as she talked about the town.
Hold up,
Erica cut in.
How did we go from me trying to convince you to meet me in Nashville for the weekend to you doing the hard sell to get me to move to your hometown? What the hell just happened?
Gia grinned. I'm a salesperson at heart. Anyway, I guess I can sneak away for a couple of days. I was planning to look for a place to live this weekend. I love my parents dearly, but every day I have to stay in that house with them is killing my spirit. If my mother isn't hounding me to settle down like my brother and give her more grandkids, my dad is asking me minute details about the technology for the 3D printer. It's too sci-fi for him.
Yeah, well, at least your mom isn't convinced you're a lesbian. Mine seems to think that I've switched sides since I haven't been seen with a man lately, and I'm always wearing my chef whites and this short haircut. She keeps telling me I'm free to love whoever I want, which is true, but who has the time or energy for all that dating stuff?
You're preaching to the choir. I've been trying to tell my family I have zero time for a relationship, but I might as well be talking to the wall. She brushed her fingers along her forehead, feeling the warmth radiating off her skin. She needed to get the HVAC addressed quickly. The air conditioning was a crucial part of the shop. In the hot, humid summers of Kentucky, cool air was vital. Anyway, I'll drive down tomorrow after my meetings. We can have a chill, relaxing weekend. Chapter 2. So much for the chill, relaxing weekend, Gia mused as she clinked her champagne flute against Erica's in a toast. They were well into a pitcher of bottomless mimosas at Susie Wong's drag brunch and cheering on a queen that back flipped into a death drop. One long, muscular leg extended toward the audience, and the other bent at a near 90-degree angle. The crowd cheered, and Erica whistled in appreciation.
I told you this would be wild,
Erica yelled over to Gia.
You think if I practiced more yoga, I could drop like that?
Girl, leave that to the professionals. Don't call me from the hospital telling me you got a death drop injury and need weeks to recover. She rolled her eyes at Erica. We are almost 40. Your death drop days are over.
You and your rational thinking. Erica waved a hand at her. But I guess someone has to be the responsible adult around here.
Yep, if it was up to me, we'd be at the spa getting ready for our busy night of binging all the shows. I don't have time to watch anymore. Gia hollered back.
We can hit the spa next time. I'm trying to pack all my bucket list things in Nashville into 2 days. Speaking of things to do, I have a surprise for you. We need to go shopping, though. I want your help picking out a little red dress for me.
Gia lifted a brow. It's supposed to be a little black dress. Where are you headed in all this red? Erica's dimpled grin appeared.
I don't know. I've never owned a sexy red dress, so I'm buying one today with your help. You know what will look good on me.
The queens took a final bow and shimmied off the stage as Gia waved and applauded. The show was excellent. She then turned her attention to Erica. Where are we supposed to be going tonight? I am in no way prepared for a night on the town. The brunch had been so good she had seriously overindulged and now felt like she wanted to nap like a hibernating bear. But Erica had a look on her face that Gia referred to as the "I'm not taking no for an answer" look. Erica rolled her eyes, shaking her head at the watch on her wrist.
Told you it's a surprise, but maybe you should buy a little dress, too. You'll need it for our plans tonight. When was the last time you spoiled yourself with something that made you feel like the sexiest woman alive?
Gia started to protest, but Erica was shaking her head like she knew the answer.
That's what I thought. Erica fiddled with her phone and after a few taps said, "Come on, let's go to Green Hills Mall. We have slutty dresses to buy."
Gia groaned her objection. While she would admit she could use a new dress or two for formal events, she'd planned to make something when she got a few spare hours. Ironically, that time hadn't materialized. Gia hadn't made anything for herself in ages. They hopped in the car and drove to the mall. Once they entered the high-end department store, Erica strode ahead, weaving through the racks until they reached the formal dress section.
"Here we go,"
she said proudly, holding up a long, slinky silver dress. "You said red. Put that back in focus." Gia looked around, surveying her options. Since Erica was a bit taller, she needed to find something that would accentuate Erica's long legs and shapely hips. She picked up a crimson off-the-shoulder piece with a high slit and a mid-length sheath with a sweetheart neckline. She held each dress up to Erica's neck. "Okay, go try both of these on. I'll see if there's anything else I like for you."
"Yes, ma'am."
Erica grinned.
"These are both cute. I knew you'd come through."
Erica practically skipped to the fitting room, and Gia trailed behind, eyeing a couple of potential dresses on the way. On impulse, she grabbed a chiffon maxi dress with full sleeves for Erica. The main area of the fitting room was plush and had a raised platform with a three-way mirror, along with 6 individual dressing rooms. Gia took a seat on a plush, high-backed chair to wait for her friend. Erica emerged in the crimson dress, beaming. She twirled around, a satisfied smile on her face.
"Girl, you've got a great eye. This one is gorgeous. I feel so confident and sexy. Now I just need a date."
"Don't we all?" Gia sighed. "Well, I told you my friend Winston is single again. I should introduce the two of you." Erica adjusted the top of the dress.
"Wasn't he the one who came to your first fashion show? Tall, curly hair and glasses?"
Gia nodded. "Yeah, he's got less hair now. But that sounds like him. I forgot you two have met. What do you think?" Stepping onto the platform, Erica preened in each of the 3 mirrors.
"Why haven't you two ever hooked up? You've known him forever."
"Yep, since college. We're just friends. I think because we've been friends for so long, it would be weird for us to get together. But he's a really good man."
He seemed more your type than mine." She turned toward Gia. "Help me get out of this one. I want to try on the other one."
Releasing Erica from the dress took a little effort. The zipper caught slightly on the fabric, but Gia was able to gently separate it. She patted Erica's shoulder. "I don't know what my type is. It's been so long. Not that I'm looking. Go put that other dress on, then try this one." She handed her the long chiffon dress.
"That one looks like a pirate wench's evening attire,"
Erica said, handing the dress back. Gia placed the offending dress on the discard rack. Oh well, she tried. She thought the pirate dress would look great on Erica, but they'd focus on the ones they had. The second dress was a showstopper, and Gia internally patted herself on the back. She had a keen sense of what styles would look good on women, and she knew she'd need to hone these skills in her new store. Erica, back in her regular clothes, came out of the fitting room holding both dresses.
"I can't decide, so I'm gonna splurge and get them both. And because I can't be the only one spending more money than she planned, let's go find you a dress too. And shoes. Can't forget shoes."
Gia knew just the dress. She'd seen it misplaced on one of the red dress racks and thought it might look good on Erica. but didn't want to distract her again. She made a beeline for the dress and grabbed the last one in her size. "I'm going to try this on. Let me know what you think," she told her friend and beckoned her toward the fitting room. The dress fit well, Gia noted as she slid on a rose gold sequin dress and admired herself in the fitting room mirror. She ran her hands over it, evaluating the fit and quality of the material. While the construction of the dress was adequate, she knew she would have done a lot more to make it look expensive. But, she reasoned, the dress would suit her needs, assuming Erica hadn't planned a night out with the Obamas. "So you're still not going to say where we're going tonight?" She called over the door separating them. "Can I wear my new cowboy boots?" She heard Erica suck her teeth.
The ones you just bought? Don't you need to break them in first? And no, it's a surprise. Come out and let me see that dress on you.
Gia flung open the fitting room door and posed. The sleeveless dress had a slight A-line and hit mid-thigh. She sighed. "I didn't bring my push-up bra either. My gym rat brothers got more boobs than I do. You know, I should have gone backstage so the drag queens could hook me up with a nice rack and ass." Erica snorted dismissively.
You're fine the way you are. Your curves are more subtle. That dress looks amazing on you,
said the woman with the double D's and the traffic-stopping booty. Gia scoffed.
Look, it's all good till I need a pair of pants that will fit my waist and my butt. I know you don't have that problem. This is why I can't wait for you to get your store set up. I want something fabulous so I can pose for boudoir pictures.
I've been thinking about offering boudoir photo packages during the grand opening. Kissing Springs has a place that does them. Gia turned so she could see the dress from the back. She wasn't stopping traffic, but the dress did look good on her.
Really? Yeah, you should. I'll definitely sign up. She hesitated. Are there any single men in that town? What are you going to do for companionship?
Erica asked, tugging the bottom hem of the dress into place. According to my mother, the town is full of eligible men. Of course, most of them are retired and ready for the nursing home. Or they remind me of guys I've seen on To Catch a Predator. Shrugging, Gia said, "But there's a toy store. I'll be fine."
A toy store? That's your backup plan?
Erica asked.
Don't you have a high school sweetheart you can reunite with?
Gia turned so Erica could zip the dress up. The guy I went to prom with hightailed it out of town as soon as graduation was over. I heard he's married and lives in Vancouver now. Erica winced.
And you want me to move there?
It's actually a nice town. You know they call it the romance capital of the South. And now that I think about it, I've heard of quite a few couples that have met there or reconnected and gotten married in Kissing Springs lately. So maybe there's hope for us. Or we can just hang out in Lexington. Erica didn't look convinced, but Gia knew she could work on her. Later, after getting fully dolled up, Gia gave up trying to pry the destination from Erica. As they approached the lobby of the hotel, Gia saw a limo pull up. While the hotel they'd chosen was upscale, she wasn't sure anyone who traveled by private car would choose it. That's fancy. She tugged her dress down, wondering why she'd let Erica talk her into it. Although the style and color were cute, it was shorter than she normally wore. Way shorter. If she was at home, her mother would probably demand she head back to her room and change, even though Gia was almost 40.
It's for us. We can drink all we want tonight.
Erica grinned.
That probably means like 2 drinks for you, but we shall see. Let's go.
Don't worry about me. I can hold my liquor just fine. I just know when to say when, unlike some people. She walked out of the automatic door and approached the car, where a stocky man in a sport coat and captain's hat ambled over to open the limo door for them. Gia and Erica slid into the plush leather interior. The TV was already on, playing a slow dance song, and the bar was stocked with a variety of liquors. A bucket of ice with a single bottle of champagne was nestled in the corner. Gia looked over at her friend and laughed. "Where are we going? Really?" Erica just smiled and said,
"It's a surprise."
As they sped toward downtown Nashville, Gia took in the deep blue night sky. The moon was fully visible and the sky was clear and full of stars. Lately, she had been going nonstop between the move home and the search for the perfect location. She couldn't recall the last time she'd just sat and enjoyed the sky. She was jerked from her musings once they arrived at their destination, an all-male strip club on Broadway. Gia had heard about it, but this was her first time actually visiting the place. She was surprised to find the atmosphere inside was classy and inviting, clearly catering to women who wanted an upscale experience. The lights were dimmed to create an intimate ambiance while music filled the air with a sensual beat. A strip club was the furthest thing from Gia's mind, and she would never have gone if not for Erica. They weren't her thing. Why, she wondered as she watched groups of bachelorettes giddy to get the party started, was Erica always pushing her to explore her wild side? Not that she really had one, but any time she found herself being pushed out of her comfort zone, Erica seemed to be the one giving her a shove. Sad part was, she usually ended up grateful that Erica had insisted. Likely, her friend knew she needed this respite from the pressure to make her new venture a success. After the legal drama with her former partner she'd endured, Gia had to prove to everyone, most of all herself, that she was capable of standing on her own, bouncing back from losing everything. Gia and Erica were immediately greeted by the club's hostess. She explained the rules and regulations, told them the safe word to use if they didn't want to engage with the men. After verifying their identification, she handed them their tickets and led them to their VIP table. Erica motioned toward the stage as a group of raucous bachelorettes eagerly piled into the seats closest to the action.
Well, all I can say is it'll be entertaining if nothing else. A lot of these women are already wasted enough to make bad decisions, and the show hasn't even started yet.
Soon after they took their seats and ordered drinks, neon lights illuminated the stage as the music began to thump, and the women roared in appreciation. The male dancers took to the stage one by one, each dressed in tight white tees and snug jeans that accentuated every move and highlighted their toned bodies. A familiar club hit started, and the MC introduced each dancer as they did a tightly choreographed hip-hop routine. The group ended the number by ripping the pristine white tees off in unison, causing the women to cheer. Gia's eyes widened further in amazement. The show was nothing like she'd expected. The music morphed into a slower tempo song. Now shirtless with their jeans hanging low on their hips, the men moved with skill and grace, their muscled bodies glistening under the dim lights of the club.
Geez, I could wash a whole load of laundry on all those abs. Erica nudged Gia. You think they'll let me take that one with the gray eyes home and chain him in my basement?
Feeling the effects of the vodka in her cocktail, Gia could feel her face flush with heat as she watched them prowl around the stage, engaging in some very suggestive moves as they pulled eager women from the audience up to join them. She dragged her eyes from the entertainment long enough to answer. You act like they're newborn puppies. No, you can't just pick one out and take him home.
Party pooper,
Erica muttered. Gia gave her friend a light shove and turned her attention back to the men. Her gaze lingered on one dancer in particular, who gave off an air of confidence that made Gia's stomach flutter. Despite her unsuccessful history with them, she loved alpha men, and she could tell the man was all alpha. She had an impulsive, irrational urge to touch his skin, the tone of it reminding her of warm caramel. He was muscular, they all were, but his body was more like a work of art. She knew he probably spent hours in the gym like her brother Jameson, but this man looked like his body had been sculpted from granite. She found herself staring, practically drooling was a more apt description, and quickly averted her gaze. She reached for her drink, and their eyes met. His piercing gaze was captivating. He had the most striking green eyes she'd ever seen, expressive eyes that had her unable to look away. She finally blinked, assessed him as she would the female models she worked with. He was biracial, she guessed, with a purposely unruly mop of black hair cut close on the sides, a chiseled jaw with just the right amount of stubble, like he couldn't be bothered to shave. The man couldn't be any older than 30, way too young for her, but he might make a good lingerie model. She was considering a line of custom items for men, or he might work well as eye candy along with the female models. She sipped her drink, dragging her eyes back up to his, full lips curved into a confident smirk as he strode toward her. The men were mingling with the crowd, coaxing willing women toward the stage. The man took her hand, waited a beat to see if she would resist, and when she didn't, he pressed it to his lips. Despite knowing better, Gia felt electric tingles race through her body. He was practically a child. Her rational side screamed. Her body ignored this. He clasped her outstretched hand and led her onto the stage, where there were 3 tall chairs adorned like thrones. Other dancers had selected women from the audience to sit in the other chairs. Green Eyes led her to the remaining empty chair and motioned for her to sit. Gia squinted. The spotlights illuminating the stage made it hard for her to see anything. She thought she heard Erica screaming words of encouragement, but she couldn't tell. One woman, a bride-to-be according to the sash and tiara she wore, was bouncing in her seat, declaring her love for the dancers. In one smooth motion, the blue jeans were pulled away, revealing tiny black boxer briefs. Another slow-tempo song began, and the men danced slowly, sensuously for the women on stage. Green Eyes seemed to be dancing just for her, and Gia couldn't take her eyes off of him. She was barely aware of the other men and women on the stage. The only thing she could focus on was the man in front of her. The intensity of his gaze sent shivers down her spine, her body feeling alive and practically vibrating with electricity. The song ended, and the dancers presented each woman with a red rose. Green Eyes led her back to her seat. Gia lingered a moment longer, her eyes roving over his figure. He smiled softly at her, then offered a hand as he backed away. She took it, feeling that spark as their skin touched. She felt a tug in her chest, a desire to stay with him longer. Before she could process her reaction, he was gone, and the stage went dark for a brief intermission before the second half of the show started. She turned to find Erica staring at her, her mouth agape. "What?" Gia asked.
What do you mean, what? That was the sexiest shit I've seen, well, ever. God, that body. Didn't you want to climb up and hold on for dear life?
Gia waved her hand, placing the rose on the table in front of them. He's too young for me, and I'm sure he pulls that move every show. He probably has a sense of the women who tip well. Erica gave her a wicked grin.
Well, going from what I saw, seemed like he was ready to give you a different kind of tip.
Gia sighed and rolled her eyes, wondering if Erica was right. She could feel the lingering effects of his performance still coursing through her veins. But that was all for show, wasn't it? He was probably rehearsing his smoldering look for the next night's performance as they spoke.
So,
Erica said, arching a brow.
Are you going to invite him back to the hotel?
Chapter 3. After the performance was over, a line formed to get pictures with the dancers. Against her better judgment, Gia let Erica talk her into waiting while she got a picture with the gray-eyed man she'd set her sights on. Gia glanced at her phone. They'd been in line for 10 minutes, but Gia swore it had been an hour. Erica, these shoes are killing my feet. We should call our driver and head back, Gia grumbled. Erica looked at her watch.
It's barely midnight. Don't tell me you're ready to go back now.
Gia sighed and looked over the line that had yet to move. Fine, I'll wait. But if he's not there when I reach the front of the line, I'm leaving. Erica stood on her toes, arching to see the front of the line.
I think I see him up there. I just need like 5 minutes to get a picture and tell him I want to have his babies.
She turned back to Gia.
Your man is there.
Gia felt that little thrill again, but kept her face neutral. Not my man. Since we're here, I'm going to ask if he models. I could use him in our promo shots.
Yep. I'm sure you could use him.
Glaring, Gia ignored the remark. When it was finally their turn, Erica stepped over to the photo area with her chosen dancer, and Gia stood waiting on Green Eyes to finish his photo session. She approached him, forcing herself to maintain her professional persona. Great show. What's your name and do you model?
It's Dre, and no, I don't.
He chuckled, revealing a deep dimple. She willed herself not to place her finger in the center of it. When she was in 7th grade, she'd fallen in love with an 8th grader named Isaiah who had the cutest dimple she'd ever seen. There was nothing cute about Dre's dimple. It was downright sexy.
Why? Are you a talent scout?
Gia realized he'd asked her a question while she was gawking. So much for maintaining professionalism. I'm not, but why are you laughing? She asked, perplexed.
You got right to the point. I was thinking it was the most original pickup line I'd heard all night,
he said, rubbing his chin. He was giving her the eye, his gaze roaming over her like a body scanner. Ignoring the heat that raced through her, she put a fist on her hip. I'm not trying to hit on you. I design lingerie, and I was thinking you'd be a good addition to our promo materials. He nodded.
Lingerie, huh? Can I see what you design on you before I decide?
Before she could recover from the boldness of the question, he took her elbow.
We're supposed to be taking pictures. Stand here.
He guided her in front of the photographer's lens. Without thinking, she smiled at the camera, leaning into him like they were a couple. How old are you, anyway? She murmured.
Should you be asking my age when you haven't told me your name?
He lifted a brow at her.
Let me finish here and I'll be happy to tell you whatever you want to know.
He motioned at the remaining queue of fans waiting to take pictures. That dimple appeared again, and even though her feet were screaming bloody murder, she agreed to wait. Gia plopped down on an empty seat at the bar, relieved to finally be off her feet. She looked around for Erica, wondering where she had disappeared to. As soon as she was settled in, Erica appeared with 2 other women.
There she is. Y'all, this is Gia, my friend who's opening the lingerie boutique in Kentucky.
Erica said, her arms linked with the 2 smiling women.
Gia, this is Mamta.
The woman closest to Gia gave her a small wave.
And Jazz. We all went to culinary school together, and they're here for the conference too.
Gia greeted the women warmly. Did you ladies enjoy the show? Mamta spoke up.
Loved it. I want to come back for amateur night tomorrow.
Erica clasped her hands together.
Ooh, I bet that is pure entertainment.
She turned to Gia.
We're going to a honky-tonk bar down the street. Jazz wants to learn to 2-step. You coming?
She shook her head. Where did Erica get all this energy? Gia longed for her PJs and her bed. No, you go ahead. I'm going back to the room and get out of these torturous shoes. Erica patted her arm.
I guess I've dragged you around enough today.
She pulled her phone from her clutch.
I can text our driver to meet you out front and take you back to the hotel.
Before Gia could respond, a deep voice behind her called out.
I can make sure she gets back safely.
Gia whipped around to see who had spoken. There was no mistaking that voice. Erica's eyes widened at the sight of him. Erica, this is Dre. She motioned between the 2 of them. Dre, this is Erica, Mamta, and Jazz. Mamta and Jazz each gave a small wave and a hello before excusing themselves from the group, leaving Erica alone with Gia, and Dre. Erica glanced back at her phone.
Well, our driver is out front. Dre, nice meeting you. Make sure my friend gets back to the hotel, okay, would you?
Of course. I'll walk you out to your ride.
Dre said, holding a hand out in a "you first" gesture. I suppose since you're escorting me, I can tell you my name is Gia.
A beautiful name for a beautiful woman,
he said, and Gia rolled her eyes. Now, who's got bad pickup lines?
It's not a pickup line,
Dre said honestly, stopping to look at her.
You are beautiful.
Gia felt her cheeks heat up and she looked away, suddenly self-conscious. How old did you say you were?
I didn't, but I'll be 30 in a couple months.
Gia inhaled. Not as young as she thought, but still, he wasn't even out of his 20s. You realize I'm almost 10 years older than you? She asked finally. You should be chasing after one of the younger women from the show. He waved the comment away.
I like older women. I love their confidence and their sense of self. Women younger than me generally don't have that.
Gia felt a twinge of warmth in her chest. She had to admit, the man was good. She thought of one of the most outrageous, successful entrepreneurs in the world and his philosophy. Screw it. How about you escort me all the way to my room for a nightcap? Au. You. Onachishoms. Fire. Chapter 4. Dre's eyebrows shot up. Those eyes, the color of cut sea glass, searched hers, and she nodded. She was sure this was what she wanted. She wasn't going to see him again, wasn't going to worry about their age difference. Men twice her age regularly pursued women his age and younger. For once, she was going to go with the flow and not let her inner, uptight, rational voice spoil her fun. The limo stopped in front of her hotel. The driver opened her door and bid them a good evening. She looked up at Dre. He held out his arm to escort her into the building.
So tell me more about this lingerie venture.
he said. I'm opening up my own store to sell custom pieces, and I was thinking you might be a good backdrop for my models. He chuckled.
So you see me as a backdrop, huh?
No, that wasn't the right choice of words. She realized she was flustered. What the hell was wrong with her? He was just a man. She dealt with high-powered men all the time. I don't design menswear, so you'd be fueling the fantasy. Okay, that sounds awful, even to me.
Why not?
She blinked. Why not what?
Why don't you design lingerie for men?
He asked, rubbing her hand as they walked to the elevator. She pushed the up arrow with her free hand. Good question. Her former partner had always nixed the idea, saying they needed to focus primarily on women. But that was over. She called all the shots now. What kind of things would you want? And pay a premium for? She turned to him as they stepped into the elevator. He stroked his chin with long, graceful fingers.
I don't know. Maybe a set. Like a silk shirt and boxers that a couple could share? You'd wear the top and I'd rock the boxers.
Gia decided she'd ignore the part about them sharing, but she loved the idea of a couple's set. The elevator stopped at her floor. As the doors slid open, she thought about what she was about to do. Sex with a random stranger. Gia pulled the key card from her purse, and Dre covered her hand with his, taking the card and waving it in front of the sensor. The door clicked. Dre reached over to open it, his arm brushing against her, sending shivers down the length of her body. Gia exhaled. She missed this feeling, the anticipation of physical contact with someone you were crazy about. But she wasn't crazy about him. She'd known him less than 24 hours. That didn't make her want him any less. She stepped in, tugging him along with her. The second the door shut, Dre pressed her against it. His full lips descended on hers, and a fire started in her belly. She felt a jolt of electricity race through her, setting all her nerve endings ablaze. She couldn't wait to be skin to skin with him. Later, after they cleaned up and napped, Gia shifted toward the edge of the king-size bed and glanced at Dre. She knew nothing about this man, except he was a good 10 years younger than her. Was Dre even his real name? What was she thinking? She grunted. She knew exactly what she'd been thinking. Here was a gorgeous man with the body of a Greek god who desired her. That had been enough last night. She would never see this man again, and she'd thoroughly enjoyed her evening with him. That was it. He rolled over, reaching out for her. She scooted back toward him. Might as well enjoy being held and desired while it lasted. Tomorrow she'd head back to her hectic, crazy life and empty bed in her parents' house. Gia settled into his arms, savoring the warmth and strength of his embrace. Despite being a stranger, there was something incredibly comfortable about being wrapped in his arms. She closed her eyes, taking a moment to savor the moment before letting out a contented sigh and allowing her eyes to slide closed. Chapter 5. The morning sunlight warmed Gia's skin, and she cracked open her eyes. She stretched, looking over at Dre as he slept, the events of the previous night still vivid in her mind. The night had been amazing, but it was time to get back to reality. Dre was way too young for her, and he lived in Nashville. This couldn't be more than one night. He opened his eyes and gave her a half smile.
You're up already?
This was amazing, Gia said softly, still feeling intoxicated from their night together. but I have to get back on the road soon. Dre stroked his chin like he was deep in thought.
You got time to join me in the shower?
Gia's eyes widened for just a moment before she grinned back. I can't think of anything better. After their shower, donned in the terry robes in the hotel, they shared a breakfast delivered by room service while Gia packed up her things. Dre, once he was done with his food, dressed quickly and kissed her goodbye like he was late for an appointment. Gia closed the door behind him, a little insulted he'd left so abruptly, but glad they hadn't had an awkward goodbye where they were both acting like they'd see each other again. Once she was dressed and packed, Gia strode across the living area where Erica's bedroom was. She peered in. The bed hadn't been slept in last night. Grabbing her phone, she called Erica.
Hey, hold on. It's loud here.
Erica yelled. Gia chuckled. She guessed they'd both had wild nights.
Okay, that's better. You want to meet us for Bloody Marys? We're all still hungover.
No. I'm going to get on the road. You'll come to Kissing Springs soon, right?
Yep, I want to see the new store. But okay, drive safely and let me know when you get home.
As the two women chatted, Gia couldn't help but smile. Last night was exactly what she needed. She was finally ready to get back to her normal life, and she had a feeling things were about to get really interesting. Chapter 6. Gia adjusted the volume of her speakers so she could hear her favorite podcast over the noise of the highway as she coasted from Nashville back to Kissing Springs. She loved listening to stories of tech startups that grew into tech giants. One day, she knew they would be interviewing her about her business and how she'd started it in small-town America and not Silicon Valley. One day, just as the podcast episode, one about a startup born out an idea between two best friends sitting in one's basement drinking beer, got to the good part. Her phone rang through the car speakers, interrupting the session. She glanced at the display, saw it was her mother, and groaned. "Hey, Mom, what's up?" She only debated half a second on whether she'd let the call go to voicemail. Her mother sounded a bit frantic.
Gia, where are you?
Gia wondered if something had happened while she was gallivanting around Nashville. On my way back, about an hour from home. Why? Everything okay?
Well, Winston is here. He said he tried to call you last night, but you didn't pick up.
Her mother wouldn't ask, but her tone implied she wanted to know why Gia hadn't answered her phone. She didn't even recall hearing her phone, but then she'd been preoccupied by all the naughty things Dre was doing to her body most of the night. The man wore her out in the best way, but he was young. That's what young men were good at. She shifted in her seat, a spasm of desire racing through her as she relived Dre's tongue, teasing her insides, hitting that exact spot that had her ready to climb the wall.
Gia?
Jolted back to the present, Gia blinked, attempted to focus on the road and her mother. Winston is there? He wasn't supposed to come in until tomorrow.
Yes, he's here. His flight got canceled and he drove instead. He looks like he's about ready to pass out, so I'm putting him in your room so he can get some rest.
Can you put him on the phone? Gia asked.
He's out in the garage with your father. Hang on, let me go get him.
Wait, never mind, Too late. Her mother had already dropped the house phone, and Gia could hear her bellowing for Winston. Gia sighed, tapping her fingers on the steering wheel as she listened to Carla Mitchell, mother hen, her friend.
Winston is going to take a nap, but here he is. Don't keep him on too long. He needs to rest, and you need to pay attention to the road.
She heard him mutter something to her mother. Then he was on the line.
Hey, G.
Gia couldn't help the smile that broke through. It had taken all of her selling skills to convince Winston Locke to come to Kissing Springs for a year to help her get her business off the ground. Hey, back. Why didn't you tell me you were coming in early?
I tried to. Did you not see my texts and calls last night? Or were you too busy hanging out at the honky-tonk bars?
She didn't want to get into details about her evening over the phone when she knew her mother hovered near. Something like that. Sorry. Blame Erica for this one. So, what made you drop everything and drive for 11 hours? Are you that eager to get started? She heard him sigh deeply and knew a story was coming.
My flight got canceled. I think the pilots are about to strike, but the airlines are keeping it quiet. Anyway, the next flight they could put me on wasn't until late, and when I did the math...
Winston always did the math.
I figured I could be here a lot quicker by just driving.
She nodded. Well, I'm in Bowling Green now, so I'll be there soon. She hesitated, a rush of emotion hitting her at the sacrifice he was making. I know Kissing Springs is small, nothing like what you're used to in Chicago, but I think we can really make lush work here, and then we can take it anywhere.
I grew up in Frankfort, remember? I'm a country boy at heart, and I need the change of scenery for a while. Chicago has a lot of memories I'd rather forget,
he said. You sure you don't want me to go beat Sarah's ass for you? I know you'd never hit a woman, but she deserves a good right hook. His ex-fiancée's behavior made her angry again when she thought about how the woman had hurt Winston.
No, because I'm not bailing you out of jail. I need you running lush. And besides, deep down, I knew Sarah wasn't right for me. I needed that wake-up call. Just maybe not so blatant.
She could have said she wasn't happy instead of letting you catch her with your boss. That was just unnecessary. Winston wasn't angry enough in Gia's mind. After he'd confessed how his relationship had ended, he'd retreated into himself, shrugging his shoulders and working hard to convince her he was okay. She knew he wasn't. Now that they were going to be in the same town, working on this common goal, she could help him heal. Maybe get him back into the dating scene. She'd find him a good woman. Oh, shit. Now she sounded like her mother, always low-key matchmaking. Wait, who was she kidding? There was nothing low-key about Carla Mitchell's matchmaking efforts.
Hey, it's done. I'm moving on and back in Kentucky.
He must have covered the phone because she couldn't hear the next thing he said.
Your mom said I need to rest, and I'll see you when you get here.
Don't let her bully you. But he was gone. Gia ended the call as she took in her surroundings. She was nearing the city center of Bowling Green, and there were road signs advertising all of the retail eateries and hotels nearby. Seeing a Starbucks sign, she made her way to the far right lane so she could exit. She could use an iced coffee concoction to keep her alert for the remainder of the drive. Chapter 7. Gia returned home to find her mother in the kitchen cooking like Thanksgiving was coming. Dropping her suitcase in the hallway, she wandered back to the kitchen. Her mother was stirring a big pot of something that smelled wonderful, and there was a pan of homemade rolls covered in plastic wrap, ready to be baked. Mom, what's all this? I don't know the last time you made Sunday dinner. She lifted the lid of a smaller pot and sniffed. Carla Mitchell covered her pot and shook her wooden spoon at Gia.
Get out of that pot. Did you wash your hands?
Scowling, Gia dropped the lid and stalked over to the sink. Happy now?
Yes. I thought it would be nice if we all got together for dinner since Winston is here. He's sleeping, so don't disturb him. Bless his heart, he drove nonstop from New York.
So you basically made all this for him. You didn't do all this when I moved back and I'm your child. She inspected the large pot and her mouth watered. Her mother made garlic mashed potatoes, one of her favorites. She checked the oven. Yep, as she suspected, there were 2 large salmon fillets browning to perfection. You made him salmon too?
He needs a good meal. Now, the rolls need to bake for about 20 minutes, so in the meantime, grab that lettuce and stuff so you can make a salad. Then call your brother and see when they'll be here.
Gia was about to protest this preferential treatment of Winston, but her stomach grumbled. She was starving. Okay, Mom, I'll do the salad. She opened the refrigerator and started pulling out lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumbers. Cutting up cucumbers, her brother, Jameson, arrived with his wife, Noemi, and their baby, Judah. She abandoned the cucumbers to Hugman and then immediately grabbed Judah from her sister-in-law's arms. Noemi gave her a grateful smile as she hefted her diaper bag onto a kitchen chair.
He's getting heavy.
Oh my goodness, he's smiling at me. He already knows who I am. She beamed at the baby, who stuck his hand in his mouth as he studied her like she was the most interesting thing he'd seen all day. God, she already loved this kid. Yeah, or he has gas. Either one. Jameson chuckled, stealing a cucumber slice. Gia bounced the baby. You can go ahead and finish cutting those up instead of stuffing your face, she said to Jameson. He shrugged, picking up the knife she'd abandoned and cutting the vegetables like he did it for a living.
So Dad said your building needs a lot of work. You getting started on that? Did you hire Tyler and his dad at Jackson Construction yet?
I haven't hired them yet. They're coming on Tuesday to give me an estimate, Father. You're worse than Dad.
Just trying to make sure you're on top of things.
Their mother stepped into the kitchen then with a vase of brightly colored fresh flowers.
Gia, I told you to do the salad. Go get Winston so we can eat. Your dad's hungry.
Where'd the flowers come from? Gia asked, sniffing the air.
Winston brought them for me. Now go get him before the food gets cold.
She shooed Gia away. As they sat around the table, waiting for her father to finish saying grace, Gia stole glances at Winston sitting across the table from her. Her mother had insisted he sit next to her at the opposite end from where she sat. If she didn't know better, she'd assume he had always been a part of her family, joking and talking easily like 20 years hadn't passed since he'd last seen them. Gia couldn't help but feel a wave of affection for Winston. Her mother rose to refill his plate, despite his protestations that he was full, and he caught her eye, giving her that lopsided grin she knew so well. She started to place her elbows on the table, but stopped, knowing her mother would command she mind her manners and keep her body parts off the table. Winston, she mused, was such a good catch. He'd mostly grown out of his awkward geek stage. Thankfully, they both had after college, and although he could still nerd out when he talked about artificial intelligence or machine learning, he was kind, thoughtful, and handsome in his own way. Gia smiled to herself, feeling a warmth and contentment she hadn't realized was missing until now. Yes, it was good to be home. Her phone rang, loud and obtrusive, from the charger in the kitchen, and Gia jumped up to retrieve it before it started ringing again. Mom, I need to take this, she said quickly, before her mother could remind her of the house rule about phones at the dinner table. Joi recognized the number on the screen and answered it quickly, her heart beating faster as she heard the familiar voice on the other end. "Hey, Sky, what's up?" Sky was her mentor and a former lingerie model who was investing in Gia's new venture.
Gia, I'm glad I caught you. I'm going to be in town for a few days next week and wanted to know if you'd like to get together for dinner while I'm there. We have a lot to catch up on.
Of course. I'd love to. Why don't you come by the new retail space beforehand so I can give you a tour?
That's perfect. Send me the address and we'll set up a time to meet.
See you then. Gia hung up the phone and headed back to the table with a big smile on her face. She was thrilled Sky was coming to town and would be able to see Gia's vision for the boutique. Gia knew Sky would have excellent ideas for her based on her years of experience in the business. She took her seat. That was Sky, my mentor. She's coming in from New York and I'm going to show her the building, she told everyone, then turned to Winston. I think it would be great if you two could meet. She's one of the main investors in my business. He nodded. I can do that. Gia grinned, a wave of relief washing over her. Chapter 8. Gia stepped through the doorway and into the space that would become Lush Lingerie. She unlocked the old door with the key from her purse and pushed. The door creaked open, revealing the hidden area beyond. She turned to Winston, her heart soaring with excitement. She couldn't believe this was all hers. The room was empty, but the possibilities were endless. Over the course of the week after she returned from Nashville, she'd gotten estimates on the renovations to be done and knew exactly what she wanted to do with the space. Winston stepped in behind her, taking in the sight. He put a hand on his chin and she knew he was envisioning the layout. He stepped in further, looking around the room. Gia followed him, feeling a mix of joy and nervousness bubbling up inside of her.
This space is larger than I thought,
Winston said, a hint of surprise in his voice. Gia crossed her arms to hold in her excitement as she took in the place she would call her store. She already had plans for the grand opening, the business, and the timeline for opening. She was so close to making her vision of an inclusive safe space for all body types a reality. Sky should be here any minute, but I wanted you to see it first, before she gets here. Winston nodded as he pressed the walls and tapped the floor. Gia felt a wave of anticipation wash over her. She couldn't wait to show Sky the building and her plans for the business.
So,
Winston crossed his arms and stared down at her.
You're back home and ready to get this business off the ground. You run into any old flames yet?
Before she could answer, an image of Dre flashed across her mind. She wouldn't consider him an old flame. She'd just met the man. Shaking her head, she walked toward the window, looking at the road. I didn't have guys after me back then. My friends were as clueless as I was about being popular or what boys wanted, so they steered clear. No one was interested in me until college. Winston smiled, and his eyes twinkled.
Those were the days,
He said.
You and me running around the campus trying to figure out how to talk to people. We were so lost.
He stepped closer to her, and Gia could smell his spicy cologne mixed with his natural scent in the air. Gia chuckled and nodded. She remembered those days fondly. Even though college had its ups and downs, she was grateful for the time she had with Winston. He had always been her rock when the going got tough, and she was thankful for his friendship. I think we did a pretty good job for two people who were so clueless about life, she said. Winston nodded solemnly.
Yeah, I think we did all right. Well, I guess it's time to get back to the present,
he said, gesturing out the window.
Let's see if Sky is here yet.
Gia walked to the window, peering out into the street. A sleek, black luxury sedan pulled up, and Sky Delaney, tall and willowy, stepped out of the car. Gia watched the woman walk. No, walk wasn't the right word. Sky didn't walk. She sauntered like she was still striding down the runways wearing next to nothing. She wore full-on white. Jeans, silk blouse, heels, and a pair of large dark sunglasses. The white outfit accentuated her tawny, brown skin and platinum hair. Forcing open the sticky door, she stepped in, popped her sunglasses on her head, and looked around. Gia hurried over, her arms outstretched. Sky.
Gia, I can't believe you moved back to small-town hell, but I guess I get it.
She air-kissed both of Gia's cheeks as they embraced. Sky tilted her head down like she was glancing over reading glasses.
Is this your brother, Jameson?
No, this is my friend Winston. He's here to help me with the tech side of things. She took Winston's arm and led him to Sky. We went to Kentucky State together.
Ah, got it.
Sky held out a hand.
I'm Sky. Pleased to meet you.
Winston looked more than a little starstruck.
Oh shit, you're Sky. When Gia said she had a mentor in the industry, I didn't expect she was talking about the supermodel Sky. I'm babbling. Nice to meet you.
He wiped his hand on his jeans and pumped her hand with enthusiasm. Sky laughed, pulling her hand away and patting his arm.
Nice to meet you too, Winston.
She stepped around him, surveying the room.
So, what do you have planned for this little gem?
Gia smiled, feeling a swell of pride. She gestured around the room. I thought we could create a warm and inviting atmosphere that's both luxurious and feminine. You know, a space where customers can come and feel comfortable, and where they can browse a selection of lingerie that caters to all different body shapes and sizes. Plus, I want to host lingerie parties so customers can learn about different products and styles that best suit their bodies, and also provide a space where they can watch a machine do a demo of the 3D process. Sky nodded her head.
I like it. You're definitely on the right track, Gia. Let's make this happen.
They walked through the space, with Gia pointing out things that needed to be fixed or built out, and Sky offering her ideas for making the lingerie shopping experience unique for the customers. Winston took pictures and video and jotted some notes using his phone. While they were in the back storage area, Sky's phone rang and she stepped outside to take the call. So, what do you think? Am I crazy for doing this? I have all my savings tied up in this venture, so if it fails, I'll be living in my old bedroom for a while. Winston shoved his hands in his pockets.
Gia, this is a sound business idea. With all these women in town for the weddings and bachelorette parties, I think you can get this place to turn a profit fairly quickly. I did the math. The numbers make sense.
Gia sighed with relief. She hadn't realized until that moment how much she wanted Winston to approve of her plans. Thanks. It's finally hitting me. This is all real now, and not a slide deck I'm pitching to prospective investors. Just then, Sky returned, ending the conversation.
I'm sorry. I had to take that call. My son just moved here. That's the reason I'm in town, and he's going to join us for lunch.
Of course. Family first, Gia assured her. That's a coincidence he's moved here. What made him move to Kissing Springs?
I told him about the town and the booming wedding industry here, and he decided to relocate. He's in entertainment marketing.
Sky said, clearly proud of her son. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to meeting him, Gia said. So, what do you think of the plan for the store? Sky nodded, her expression turning serious.
I like it, Gia. I think this is a great opportunity for you. You have a good vision, and with a little hard work and dedication, you can make it happen. I'm here to help you when you need it.
Gia smiled and thanked Sky, feeling relieved to have such a supportive mentor.
Well, now that we've gone over the plan, how about we get some lunch? I'm starving,
Winston said, clapping his hands together. Gia and Sky agreed, and they made plans to meet at 214, an upscale restaurant in downtown Kissing Springs. Gia, Winston, and Sky settled into a booth and placed their orders. Sky and Gia ordered white wine spritzers while Winston got a beer. As they sipped their drinks, Sky made an observation.
You two have always just been friends?
Sky asked, setting her glass down and eyeing them.
I've never been able to keep a male friend unless he's gay. Any man who says he wants to be friends always ends up wanting to take things further.
Yep, just friends. Although I had a crush on Winston back when we were in school, but I was too insecure and shy to say anything, Gia confessed, taking a swallow of her drink. Winston, his beer halfway to his mouth, frowned at her.
You did? I didn't know that.
Gia waved him off. Oh, yeah, a huge crush, but you were dating that girl from Fisk. Oh, I can't remember her name now. Anyway, I convinced myself we were better off being friends, so that was that. She shrugged, turning back to Sky. And we've been close friends since. I've decided, since he's moving to town, I'm going to find him a nice small-town woman to settle down with.
I'm not moving here permanently.
Winston scowled. Gia was about to contradict him when she felt a presence at the table. Dre, in more clothes than she'd ever seen him in, stood at their booth. Gia stared at him as he stared at her, his eyes wide.
There he is. Son, this is Gia, my mentee and future lingerie mogul.
She rubbed his arm, then pulled him into a hug.
Gia, Winston, this is my son Andreas. We'll slide over and you can sit here by me.
Gia blinked. She realized her mouth was hinged open and quickly clamped it shut. Breathe, focus. Shit on a shingle. Andreas extended a hand.
Nice meeting you, Gia.
He shook Winston's hand.
What's up, Winston?
Okay, so they were going to act like they didn't know each other. Fine with her. She didn't really want to explain to his mother how they met. Gia shook his hand and smiled. Nice to meet you too, Andreas. She emphasized his full name. Sky beamed with pride.
My son just moved to town. Isn't that great timing? Gia, maybe you can help him get settled in?
She said. Gia tried not to think about their one-night stand in Nashville and instead focused on the conversation. Of course. What are you going to be doing here, Andreas? Dre's eyes bored into hers.
Entertainment marketing.
Sky broke in.
Yes, he's been doing that in Nashville at one of the nightclubs for about a year, right?
She rubbed his arm proudly.
Andreas says he got offered a prime position here that he couldn't turn down.
Gia lifted a brow. She was willing to bet her new business that she just couldn't wrap her mind around calling him Andreas, was going to be one of the new dancers at Derby Nights, and his mother had no clue. She also knew she had no intention of telling his secret, as long as he kept hers. Want to know if Gia's and Dre's secrets stay buried? Check out Sunshine and Silk Boxers. Link for book in the description.